Okay, okay. So we're recording. Okay, here we go. So first propaganda piece, we did this on Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday. Okay, so what's going on here? This propaganda picture. Chris?
Uncle Sam wants us to be U.S. Army.
Yeah, good job, right? So Uncle Sam, we talked about him. He was a kind of made-up figure here to try to boost motivation and morale for the war effort. Again, Woodrow Wilson, for the longest time, tried to stay out of this war as long as possible. But we mentioned about the reasons why. Okay, really, militarily, we weren't capable of competing just yet with Germany. They had a lot of new forms of weaponry. Okay, this trench warfare is brutal. We also talked about the melting pot in the United States. All these immigrant groups, okay, these people from literally around the world. If you join one side, who knows what can happen. But now, after the Second Lusitania, we joined right after Lusitania. Boston, did we join right after the Second Lusitania? No, we did not. Okay, but the Zimmerman telegram finally pushed us into this war. So 1917, we needed to try to ramp up our efforts, build up our military. And what better way here, okay, with these propaganda pictures? One being Uncle Sam here. I'm sure you guys maybe seen this one before. You're saying, I want you to join the U.S. military in a way to try to recruit. Okay. We also talked about the Selective Service Act yesterday and how it didn't say draft in it because of some of the past history here with these rebellions, riots that were occurring during the Civil War with the draft. So there was a lot of tensions rising. A lot of people were saying this was unjust, objected the draft, objected the Selective Service Act. And some people were all about it. Again, what was that war right before the United States gets involved in World War I? What was that? It's called the Splendid Little War. Only lasted about 6 months. We didn't have too many casualties either. Why? Spanish-American War, yep. So we thought war was somewhat like a game here. Okay, so for this propaganda piece, I wanted you to target, the target audience here is young men, right? Obviously 18 to 25 when it comes to the Selective Service Act. And really participating, getting involved as we're going to join this first war that we're stepping into in the international level. All right, okay, we good with this propaganda piece? Yes. All right, here's another one. Here's another one. What's going on here? What's going on here? So we're going to have a term here today, Liberty bonds. Okay, we'll talk about that here soon. But what do we got? What do we got? What did we say for propaganda piece number 2? Who wants to describe it? Someone other than Chris. Okay, Wyatt, go ahead.
All right. So I'm going to start with the text, right? It's feedback to Hun.
Yes.
Another name for the German army.
All right, good, good. So Hun, okay, make sure you guys remember this. Okay, you might see it on the test. Hun is described as a German soldier. Good. How do we know it's a German soldier?
Because
the point, right? The point on their helmet. A lot of time in these propaganda pieces for World War I, you'll see how these German soldiers are depicted with this point on their helmet. Good. All right.
They weren't trying to look like the bad guys.
They did a good job, right? How so? Describe it for us. What else?
Okay, so the waters, the Atlantic Ocean, and it's supposed to be from America's eyes looking over to Europe.
Good.
Europe's all destroyed.
And it's all destroyed, and you see the Hun with bloody hands, a bayonet, right, stripping with blood. And we're looking across the Atlantic Ocean. We're seeing the destruction here in Europe. And the only way to try to beat back the Hun is to do what? Buy Liberty bonds, right? And what is a bond? What is a Liberty bond? Does anybody know before we get into the vocab term here today? Go ahead, Paul. Yeah, good. It's pretty much like a loan, right? So U.S. citizens would buy into this war effort. They would buy these loans. And with these bonds here, they hold on to it. And the United States government would ramp up their war efforts. They would shift their economy, their manufacturing to building more supplies and materials. So in a way, you're investing, right? You're investing in a way to try to build up weaponry and military supplies. So with that, at the end of the war then, once everything's hunky-dory, right? Once we win, these interest rates would rise, obviously, when it comes to our economy, and you make some money off of it. So this is an investment. That is an investment. All right, let's get to the next one here. Some visitors, I guess. What's going on here? What's going on here with this propaganda piece? All right, who wants to describe it? Chris can't go anymore. Wyatt can't go. Someone new. What's up? Absolutely. You have a pen? Trying. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks.
Just today. See you. Yeah, have a great weekend. See you, Barbara Ann. All right, what do we got? What do we got?
Craig wants to.
Who?
Craig. Why is that?
Hey, what's up?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Just in case you wanna send someone over, I'm going to, the laundry room.
Jackie, you are.
Mr. Smelton, you know.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Daubert, get up here. Bring your iPad. You need to scan this code. What's going on with this piece here? What's going on with this propaganda piece? Someone. Connor, yes. Here, just come on.
Terrorize the U.S. citizen.
Yes, okay, good job, right? So we talked about one term. I didn't have it as vocab, sorry. But what is that? What is that term? When you're looking at the opposition here, you're trying to bring them away from any type of emotional connection you might have with them. Oh, Alana, go ahead. Yeah, dehumanization, good job. So you're trying to break that connection, right? That emotional tie you might have with them. And the goal here is that when send our troops over, we don't have an issue just popping a bullet out. We try to break away that human tendency that we might have with them. So we're showing them as a brute, right? As a bloodthirsty monster, like a gorilla here. And again, you can see the helmet on top with a point symbolizing that it is German. Okay, where is he standing? Where is he standing? I know it might be hard to see, but American soil. And it says it right here at the bottom.
Where does his bat sit?
Culture. Yeah. So it's obviously spelled a little bit different. But when you know about German culture, we talked about the buildup of Germany, the unification, its German nationalism. What was it built on? Literally. What was German nationalism, unification? What was it built on? How did they unify? Through what? Chris? War, right? Literally. So when you think about Germany at this time, they are this bloodthirsty group, right? This is this fiction. We're trying to create this clear enemy. Also, with Germany, who's he holding? Who's he holding? Caroline.
Two things, maybe liberty and also the mountain swapping, so rabies as well.
Okay, all right, yeah, good. So, yeah, holding Lady Liberty, she's in distress. Obviously, if we don't do something, if we don't build up our military, if we don't try to get more of our young men involved, then chances are this group will make it across the Atlantic Ocean, you can see in the background, and destroy our land like you see in the background with Europe. And it's just a matter of time. Okay, the only way we can beat back this group here is if we get more participation in our military. So advising some of these young men, young Americans, to get involved, to enlist. All right, any questions there? Good? Okay. All right, this is one of the terms yesterday we went over. What's going on here? What's going on here? Someone else now. Connor did a good job. Chris, Wyatt went already. Someone else. Awesome. B, go ahead. Yeah, good job, Ryan. What are victory guards? Yeah, good job, good job. So yeah, this representation might be Lady Liberty here, right? And with these victory gardens, you're trying to promote and push for this production of food and agriculture, right? For the United States, okay, we're not going to go over there just guns ablazing and defeat Germany, no problem. It's not going to happen. It's not realistic. And the only way we're actually going to try to beat these efforts here for the Central Powers is just with our sheer supplies, our armaments, military weapons. Even though they might be a little bit outdated, we still have such a high supply. Not only with military supplies, but with agriculture. That's going to be the biggest thing. So with food production, okay, we talked about trench lifestyle, food character. Right? Living in the trenches, preserving food, forget about it. No way to do it. But this might just give the bump the Allied powers need in winning this war. So Americans at home, okay, so this is guided to Americans at home, specifically Okay, US civilians here, citizens that weren't, let's say, necessarily involved in the war in Europe, their goal, their objective is to grow as much food as possible. So even if you have just a small yard, in the backyard here, you need to grow as much food as possible for the war effort. Okay, there's a lot of other forms of victory gardens, other propaganda pieces where it's advising you not to just spoil food, not just to throw it out, make sure you have it on your plate, because anything that's wasted could have went for the war effort. All right, so here you go, victory gardens, victory gardens. Another piece of propaganda, not really necessarily shifted or guided towards the enlistment in the army, but preparing, producing as much food as possible. All right, last one here. Last one, what's going on here with this propaganda piece? So this is based off of the other term that we went over yesterday. Another term we went over yesterday. Kadia? Oh, hell, huh? Okay, good. Yeah, good. Based off of what acts did we go over yesterday? What acts did we talk about? Some said this was an overreach. We can't talk badly about U.S. government. Very funny. Yesterday? Yes. Espionage and Sedition Acts in 1917. Good, good. So again, if you were considered, let's say, a person that was going against the United States cause in this war, if you weren't for it, you just have, let's say, American flag hanging outside your door. Chances are you're viewed as a person that hated the United States, as a German sympathizer, German spy, and you'd see jail time. You might be fined. You might even be killed. That might be the worst part of it, because now your neighbors, your friends are all turning on because they think you're against the war effort. So overall, right, this is a propaganda piece that is telling Americans, hey, you never know who might be listening to your conversations. If you're talking about the war effort, ramping up for the war effort, there could be a German spy that has a monkey. And make sure that you keep quiet about it, because who knows what could happen. Right? These spies could be all around the U.S. We need to make sure that we have our mindset in the right place. All right, so this is based off this Espionage and Sedition Act. So making sure that we're not going too far, making sure that we're not, let's say, leaking out any information that could give the Germans an upper hand, or see a rebellion internally. That was the fear. All right, so after the war, where does this change to? Who does this change to? Who is the new enemy? Who's the new enemy? We'll talk about it a little bit. We'll talk about it. Is that a red folder over there, Kadia, underneath your iPad?
No.
Yeah, it is. Oh, communist.
That's what.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Did you
Jeez.
read it? Oh.
Yes, I read it. All right, okay. So with that propaganda assignment here, hopefully everybody has it finished, completed. Again, if you just put a couple words down, well, I'm not going to give you full credit for that. So hopefully it was answered in detail and explaining some of the events that we mentioned, that we talked about leading up to America's involvement in World War I. Okay, so have that turned in. I'll grade that at some point here today. All right, good to go. Good to go. So, well, let's see if I want to start the terms. I got a bell ringer for you. So let me put up the bell ringer. And once you're finished, I'll come around and check them, make sure we have them all. We should have 5, right? Yeah? I think 5. All right, so since we finished off with this propaganda piece, the Espionage and Sedition Acts. There you go. There you go. And then, in your opinion here, do you think these acts were justified that were created by Woodrow Wilson? so we should have 5. Right? Okay, all right, so Espionage Sedition Acts, what were they? Why were they created? What was the point of them? Go ahead, Wyatt.
They were, you want me to explain?
Yeah, go ahead.
There were these 2 acts that Wilson, he made because to prevent people from talking bad about anything relating to the United States.
Good. Good job, right? So the whole idea here is that as we're getting involved, right, the worry is that we might have people that aren't loyal to the cause. That because we are a nation of immigrants, because we are this melting pot, chances are we can see an internal rebellion. Right, that was the whole fear for this whole time since we've been talking about Woodrow Wilson, United States, moving into World War I. And again, the whole fear again is that we could see a rebellion or riot internally. So after Lusitania, after the Zimmerman telegram, I think we can kind of see and picture who the real enemy is, right? Which is Germany. So now we need to shift and gear ourselves for warfare. And we talked about propaganda. We mentioned about how this is trying to motivate, trying to build up morale for the war effort. And also, well, a lot of people see this as an overreach of government. When it comes to the Selective Service Act of 1970, it is a military draft. Right? A lot of people are saying, hey, this is too much, right? Woodrow Wilson is acting somewhat like a dictator here as he's pushing people to this conflict, going against their religious values, going against right, their political affiliations, let's say. And there's a lot of people jailed because maybe they're disloyalty to the U.S. It went a step further with the Espionage and Sedition Acts. You just didn't have a flag hanging outside your house. You were maybe talking badly about the government when it comes to its involvement in World War I. You would be viewed as a traitor, okay? A person that was looking to maybe get down the U.S. from the inside out. Also, we mentioned too about this Espionage Act. We're trying to break down and find these German sympathizers and spies. Again, there's a huge population of German immigrants in the U.S. And we just got to make sure we can keep good, clear eye on them. Right? If they're acting out, or maybe if they're conspiring a way to try to break down the U.S., we need to find out. So what did they do? So we had bureaucracies, you had agencies, organizations created like the FBI in order to do what to these people? Spy on them, right? So what were they doing? Yesterday I gave a few examples. How they took away some of these people's freedoms, even their privacy here. What they do? Well, why? Yeah, good job, right? So they're tapping into their phones, they're listening into their conversations. They're also reading through their mail, right? Any type of mail out was coming to them, they were opening it up, they were checking it out, seeing if they're trying to conspire against the U.S. Can you imagine that? I can imagine
Conspire against the United States.
Gosh, right?
Dude, if the government had a PlayStation party,
Wow, this really went.
All
All right, okay. So anyway, with that, guys, you can imagine here. Hey, you're going a little too far. Okay. So like I said, when it comes to this Espionage and Sedition Act, they're overstepping their boundaries. They were really infringing on the people's rights and freedoms. These people came to this country for these freedoms, for these opportunities, for this liberty. All of a sudden, it's taken away. To a point where they serve jail fine, or worst case, where their neighbors, their friends would turn on them and even beat them, kill them, making an example for the rest of the country. And this was warned. Everybody did this. This was wild, crazy, crazy things that went on. So looking back at Woodrow Wilson here in his presidency, during the time before forward, again, because this is the first time the U.S. joins in to this international war, where, again, we have these immigrant populations all around the world. So if we do join in, chances are you might see some of the hostilities rising. I like to say, oh, you know, we learned our lesson here, but when we talk about World War II, there were Japanese internment camps where many Japanese Americans were placed in camps for the remainder of the war for 4 long years in brutal living conditions. So we'll talk about that here soon enough too. But with this, again, it's kind of this fear, this paranoia that as we step closer into warfare, we just see the brutal effects of it, harsh effects of it, even at home. Okay, all right, so what do you think? Is it justified? Connor, what do you think?
I think he was justified for it. I mean, with how diverse America was at the time, any rebellious group that formed that catches fire could ultimately end the US, especially with all the soldiers in Europe.
All right, yeah, right. So again, this is the first time we're experiencing this, right? So maybe you want to step over that line a little bit, right? Maybe you want to step over it just to make sure that everybody's protected, that we don't see the US just tear each other apart from the inside out.
But not quite as far as Russia.
Oh,
Not quite as.
yeah, yeah. Chris?
I'd say that, well, maybe this was all just sort of what society thinking the laws meant,
Okay.
or kind of society not rationalizing the laws properly. So maybe they could have been more specific with what they said in the laws, so that it didn't go to the extremes.
All right, okay. So you're saying maybe it was just a failure of just presenting what was all about these acts, these policies before they issued them, right? Okay, right. I like that. I like that. But a lot of times too, that you think about it, when they put out a policy or an act or create a bureaucracy like the FBI at this time, they want to kind of leave it broad. So it's like, oh, what are the guidelines? Well, you don't know, right? They can literally tap into your phone, read you through your mail. And they didn't really specifically label it for those reasons. All right. Anything else here? Alana, what do you think? You think it was justified? You think he was doing the right thing here? Just head nod. Nothing else. Jason, what do you think? Another head nod. Okay, all right. Han, what do you think? Wow. All right. Okay, we're on a roll here. Thank you, Carter. Thank you, Chris. I was gonna ask you, but you're on PlayStation 5, so no. Okay, okay. So, like I said, after the war then, after the war, with these Germany's defeated, we win the conflict. Who is the next enemy here? Who is the next enemy? Who is it? Oh my gosh, Chris, who? Yes, communists. All right, so we'll talk about the Red Scare. We'll mention about the Russian Revolution probably on Wednesday next week. So I do want to talk about the United States at home. I'm not going to move further. I know it's a Friday. Get some head nods. Maybe I should move forward. What do you think? Should I talk about this involvement a little bit more? Oh, you're shaking your head this way. Chris.
If America was so scared of communists, why did they red up the flag?
I don't know. Look out. Look out. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. So I'm going to play a video here. End class. What should you do? What should you do as the video's playing? Back. Take notes. Yes. Coming from the student of the month, right? Student of the month. Okay. Connor's like, oh, hey, we're done. Yeah.